This is the second day of the programming of the 7th Annual Second Life Community Convention. And today we have keynoting, kicking off today, Aliza Sherman, otherwise known as Cybergirl O in Second Life, although she's been using Cybergirl for much longer as a moniker. She's a digital media and a strategist. She does social media. She's a pioneer in a lot of ways, and she'll kind of get back to that in a lot of ways. She's an author. I've known her from InWorld, from doing events in Athena, bringing in sort of speakers, and also doing a long-run media series. I know it was Machinima that you were doing for a while. What was the network that it was on?
Real Biz and SL on what's now Treat.
Yep, Real Biz and SL, yep, which was on Treat. And so she's brought in a lot of provocative people that she's actually spoken to, and even we talked about how you sort of did the launch of you in the Playboy build, right? Yes. So she's got a lot of great things to say, and I know she's going to talk about the future of not only virtual worlds, but social media, the intersection of all this sort of stuff, and how that kind of impacts all of us as well. So I'll turn it over to Aliza. I don't get to say your name very often out loud. So come on up. Thanks.
Or am I Cybergirl O, also known as Aliza Sherman? That's probably it. I was asked to come up with a title for my presentation before I even had any idea what the presentation would be about. And I put a bunch of words together and thought, okay, somewhere I'm going to be correct. So future mobile geeky tech, our virtual lives. And I was here for Rodvik, or Rod Humble's presentation, or most of it. And you'll see a couple of quotes, slightly paraphrased quotes within this presentation that I pulled out of his speech yesterday. Oh, I've got the technical ability. So I love looking at where we're going next. I'm often dabbling as a hobbyist in areas that are considered the cutting edge. I try to avoid the bleeding edge, but even sometimes I'm there and don't even know it. And then, when everyone else gets there, I'm restless and I like to look for the next thing. But as a strategist, I like to talk about the practical uses of things, to ground our use of technology in the things that we know to be true, that do not change. So when we ask ourselves, well, where is this going? Where are we going next? I like to say that, well, to understand where we are today or where we're going, we've got to take a look at where we've been and not forget that. So a lot of this presentation today will start with the past and then move forward. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't include Rod Humble's quote, "There's nothing that feels better than Second Life outside of the bedroom." I remembered that one vividly and thought, okay, for us, Second Life feels good. It feels right. Not always, just like First Life, just like any other life. It's not always going to be exactly what we want it to be, but the possibilities we know are endless, limited only by our own imaginations. So here are the things I'll touch on this morning. On being a noob, being social, going mobile, and the hybrid model. Those are the main categories of what we're going to talk about and explore. And I will be dancing as I do the clicker. Let's first talk about ourselves, and I'll use myself as the guinea pig. I'll talk about me. Our avatars can be extensions of us or something completely different, or sometimes they just are. And I think a lot of you will know exactly what that means. I'm going to put this up on SlideShare after, And anyone who has not been in Second Life may not understand what it just means that our avatar just is. So first I'll tell you my story, because I know that story very well. I started dabbling in Second Life early 2007, heard about it late 2006. So I'm not an early adopter, but I was there early on enough that I hadn't read enough to understand what I was getting into. And I'll tell you my first experience. I signed up. I chose the girl next door because I thought I was the girl next door. And I thought I was supposed to just be me. And I modified her in my appearance just to look as close to me as I possibly could get with limited talent and ability. And then I was in the space that you landed in back then with a bunch of people bumping into walls. And my husband, a non-techie, a hunter from Montana, was looking over my shoulder. He knew I did this computer thing, and he wanted to see what I was up to. Just then, a naked avatar approached me and began bumping up to me, and I couldn't get away. And then my husband said, "What's going on?" "Well, honey, he's just being a jerk. I mean, I'll just walk away. I think I just go like this." Bumping up to me, and then starting to say a few things that were quite inappropriate, especially with my husband there in the room. And my husband was shaking and angry. And he said, "I forbid you from ever going there again." Yeah, that's the right thing to say to me. And I logged out. And out of respect for him, I love him, I didn't go back in for a while. And he told me that he felt so frustrated as a man and the protector that he couldn't defend his wife. And I said, "Honey, that was just my avatar. I'm okay." A few months later, I did log back in. And that's where my whole Second Life began. I had a lot of identities, but they were all the me that I was hoping to be. I thought it was supposed to be me, but it was me dressed up, me changing my hair whenever I felt like it, and the hair color to match my shoes. I mean, that was rad. I also wanted to make sure that being in Second Life wasn't going to lose me a lot of money. So I put in $50, and I said, if I can start making money in Second Life so I don't have to deplete that $50, then I'm going to stay. So, of course, I had to get a job. I found out about an island owned by Random House, and I offered to organize events and to bartend. So I started making money. That is the top picture is Writers Wednesdays that I would host. And writers would come in and we would talk about books and we would have authors come in. Eventually I brought in authors, experts, consultants who had never been in Second Life, never even heard of Second Life, but they saw it as a platform. And I would create their avatars and they would come in and they would present on Athena Isle, which was the island I eventually bought. But before I got to this point where I could actually be presentable enough to get a job, I was at a party trying to figure out how the heck to dance, and I asked somebody, "How do I take a picture of myself for my profile?" And she basically said, "Honey, you look terrible. There's no way you want to take a picture of yourself right now." And that's when I learned that the girl next door look wasn't really so cool. So she took me shopping. I got a job. I started a business making logoed t-shirts. I found a template and I thought, whoa, I'm styling now. And I came up with little slogans, still rezzing, "What's your slurl? Are you for real?" And I would sell the t-shirts on the island. And then I got my apartment. I furnished it kind of Asian style. Everything I always dreamed of having in my first life. I even had a bed. And then I figured I had to sleep on my bed. And so every day or night when I would log out, I would lay my avatar down on a bed after putting her into pajamas because I thought that's what you were supposed to do. And then when I would come back in, she was standing up. And I was wondering what she was up to when I was not logged in. These are the thoughts that you have when you just do not know. Another thing that Rod said yesterday was there are 3 main things that he feels make Second Life good, what it is. He didn't know what the magic formula really was, but he said, it's shared. You can be creative in it, and you can choose your identity. And I loved that, and I still love that. Shared space, collaboration, and choosing an identity. Now, when I talk to other people about Second Life, I say it's the best social network there is. And it has been from the start. Fundamentally, a social network. I mean, if you look at what a social network is, profile, friends, groups, events. Those are really the key elements that just about every social network has. Second Life, profile, or even better, avatar, friends, groups, events. But then, Second Life is visual. It gives you a sense of place. You feel the presence of others. Creative, collaborative, immersive, the things that even the best of social networks are not. So here's my theory. I think that there is great value in taking what's in-world and bringing it out. If we love Second Life, we need to continue to share it outside of Second Life. And I used to work in economic development, and everybody wanted the best of everything in their towns, but they didn't want people to move there. So in a sense, that's how we are when we have an online community that we love, a space that we call our own. We want it to get better and better and better, but we don't want anybody new there because they're going to really mess it up. But I like to dispel that theory because as we bring in more people, if we help to bring them in the right ways to provide and add value, our world only gets better. Now, 2008, 2009, here was our landscape for taking Second Life and bringing it out. It was all the social networks, Twitter, Facebook, our blogs, LinkedIn. How many of you have LinkedIn accounts for your avatars? I won't ask you about Facebook because we know about that. Flickr. How many of you post Second Life photos onto Flickr? Plurk. Who has a Plurk account? YouTube. Who posts machinima or even who views machinima on YouTube? Twitter. You got a Twitter account? Yeah. Although I noticed that a lot of you here were not religiously using Twitter like most of the tech conferences I was at, and I was tweeting things out to ask questions, and sadly nobody responded except for people who weren't actually here. So that's what it looked like. That's what our landscape looked like. But now we're all going mobile. How many people have a smartphone? Of those, how many have an iPhone? Okay, you're going to have a lot of fun in the rest of this presentation. Oh, you Android people. Here is what I propose could be one version of our landscape today because of mobile, smartphones, and mobile apps. And I'll explain each one of these. Does anyone recognize some of these symbols? Okay, yeah, there's a people nodding. Okay. So here's what I envision as our new mobile way of bringing in-world out. Instagram. I'm an Instagram fanatic. Who's on Instagram? Okay, start taking notes. Instagram is a wonderful photo sharing community. It's a community based around photos, individual photos. So it's different than Flickr, where we can batch our photos and create sets and create groups. It is about your live stream in images. And I have taken to posting my avatar and her experiences every once in a while on Instagram, and I think that this is a really nice, compelling way to bring in-world out. Foursquare. Now this becomes a little tougher. Any geolocation mobile app, meaning any mobile app that will tag based on GPS coordinates, becomes a little tough because it doesn't correspond with Second Life coordinates. So what I did here specifically is I went in-world to the version of SLCC, took a snapshot, then checked in here physically, but used the virtual world image to show it. I think that you could play around with this a lot. And I encourage anyone who is on Foursquare to every so often just throw in an image from Second Life and see what happens. But I would love to have people figure out how do we check in to places in-world and share that with all of our friends outside of Second Life, a challenge. Hashable. Hashable, people call it the new LinkedIn. It's a way, using Twitter, for example, you can post different tags, the hashtag just met. And here's that's what I did. I just met Franz and I just met Zero. And I used them in this demo to show that, well, we are connected through Twitter. We have just met in real life, and yet there's a Second Life connection there as well. It's a way to manage your contacts and manage what you've done. I've met them. I've had lunch with them. I've had dinner with them. I've been in world with them. Pinterest. Pinterest is invitation only right now, but I've got a bazillion invitations if anyone is interested. It consists of boards, like dream boards. And you can post and pin images from anywhere, from the web. You can take photos, post them up. And I'm starting now to post things from InWorld and putting them out there. Now, the people who belong to Pinterest don't usually know about Second Life, and that's the beauty of it, is that I'm introducing them to these incredible images that they're eye-catching, they're interesting, they're different, and in turn, turning them on to Second Life. So I do wish I had a sock monkey. I suddenly realized once I arrived I should have bought one so you would all recognize me, because of course you wouldn't know that that was me without the sock monkey on my shoulder. And Google Plus. Now this is something that's fairly new, about 7 weeks old, 8 weeks old. And I'm loving the flow of conversation on Google Plus and the ease of posting things in world out. Now this was a sad post that I just put up yesterday. I finally, after all this time, have had to give up Athena Isle. And as of this month, I'm sure because of non-payment of this month's tier, Lyndon will eventually just take it away. So a sad moment, but I shared it on Google Plus with people mostly who were not on Second Life. But eventually people came out of the woodwork saying, is Second Life still there? I left a while ago. And so by just posting out, bringing in-world out, we are letting people know, yes, this is still here. We're still doing exciting and interesting and viable things. But also, we're still struggling. We're still having a hard time sometimes. In my case, making Second Life ends meet. And food spotting. Yes, that is a platter of virtual quesadillas. What I did, which I thought was surprising, hopefully, to somebody who finds this, not only is it an image that kind of looks real but not, it does catch your eye, it makes you curious, but I attached it to a local business in Napa. Actually, I attached it to a marketplace where they serve things like chips and salsa and other kinds of snacks. So it wouldn't be so far-fetched that they would be serving quesadillas, just probably not bits and bites. So I thought, wouldn't that be interesting if that attracted people and then brought them to the marketplace? So imagine you could actually be driving traffic to, real foot traffic to businesses, local businesses, by peppering some virtual food images throughout. And Food Spotting is a mobile app that helps you find local places to eat food. So yeah, you're not going to really get to eat these incredibly yummy virtual quesadillas. But isn't that an unexpected surprise for the person? Yes, they might be disappointed that they can't have virtual quesadillas, but hey, look at this marketplace and the wonderful things that are here. And wow, where did those virtual quesadillas come from? Second Life? How interesting. Let me explore. Now, for the rest of the conference, I hope that if you have the ability to download these next two apps that you do and try them out. Color is a photo app to take pictures. That's geolocation sensitive. So it will group photos together based on when you're at the same place with other people. So if there are 3, 4, 5 of you using color and taking images, it will upload in a joint album that shows the different perspectives of people in the same location. So it's a new and interesting way. I mean, we've got the Flickr groups where we all can put all of our photos in and share with each other. But this is in the moment, in the location, with potentially people that you haven't yet met. And I think it's a wonderful application to use at conferences. And then Glimpse, which is the word glimpse without the I or the E, because you know if it's a tech company, you have to remove all the vowels. Glimpse is a hybrid video photo app. So when you go to take a photograph, it captures a video moments before you snap the shot, and it blends them together. So you see the photo, but you can click on the photo, and the video plays moments before. So there's a lot of possibility here. This is a brand new app that literally just debuted about a week and a half ago. But again, if you can download that here, I think that would be a really interesting thing that we start glimpsing those moments here. Because how many times you take that picture and you kind of miss the moment? Well, with Glimpse, you don't miss the moment because you're capturing those seconds right before. So yeah, sure, the final photo might be everyone like this. But that could be the moment. But it's a really lovely blend. So I recommend that you check that out as well. And Plancast. I've been using Eventful, Facebook events. I used to use Upcoming to publicize in-world events because not everybody is going to check simply the destination guide or the calendar there on secondlife.com. So of course I want to let everyone know far and wide. And Plancast is the new Eventful, is the new Upcoming calendaring system. It's very social. And it's plancast.com. It's on the web, and it also has a little app. So that's another way to get in-world out. But what about out-world in? There's a lot of people with a lot of opinions about taking what's out here and putting it into Second Life. But let's face it, we do it anyway. Whether or not we do it deliberately, our presence moving in world, we bring our own thoughts and ideas and experiences and biases. We bring them there. We can try to be somebody totally different, and yet we are still colored by what we are outside. I have been told many times that some of the things that I do, where I bring the experts in or when I bring art in, well, that's not really Second Life. Well, let me share with you one of the projects I worked on with a client of mine, the Rasmussen Foundation, which is a family foundation in Alaska. And every year they award money to individual artists. And if anyone here is an artist, you know that's really hard to find. You usually have to do it within a nonprofit setting, but this is for individual artists. And the Distinguished Artist Award is $25,000, and then the awards go down from there down to about a couple of $1,000s, depending on where they are in their career. So these are artists based in Alaska. None of them have ever been in Second Life. Back in 2008, actually 2007, but this is an image from 2008, we built a gallery on the University of Alaska Fairbanks Island called Rhetorica. And we brought in samplings of art from previous distinguished artists and other grantees. So it was images of the art, their name, photo of the artist, clicked on it, you got a note card with the bio. None of them had websites back then. None of them had any presence online back then. Second Life was the first time they reached a global audience online. The next year, we held an event. We did a simultaneous announcement. It was actually lagged by about 2 or 3 minutes, of the artists, the winners, the grantees really, the grantees of that year, and displayed a sampling of their art. And the next year we did it. And the next year we did it. And then this year was the 5th year. And every single time, there were many people who were just so thrilled to see art from Alaska. Anything at all to do with Alaska is interesting, curious, different. And then there were those who said, but this doesn't really matter. Certainly not in Second Life, because they didn't create the art in Second Life. And so I caution you not to think that way. That closes off creative opportunity, this incredible exchange. This is one of the gallery openings, the hybrid event. Now, many of you do participate in or organize hybrid events. But always keep in mind there are those who are the naysayers. Don't let them discourage you from doing this. I feel there's incredible value here. This is this year, Pookie Amsterdam and her crew. We were looking for a new thing for this gallery that has existed the same way for 4 years, almost 5 years. And Pookie and her crew came up with the idea of a river flowing around the gallery and built this. Now, the Rasmussen Foundation has a river in its logo. And then Alaska, boy oh boy, there are a lot of rivers. And trust me, there were some salmon in this river as well. And then they added some boats to actually take you up the river. You could walk up the river or run. It's quite a distance. And then they displayed the art in a new way. So as you went up the river, you had different moments of experience. Or you could choose to step off the river onto the floor, and you would see that year's grantees. Now, this is something clearly we could not have done in First Life. This is the art of an artist, Ray Troll, from Ketchikan, who is this year's Distinguished Artist. No matter how you slice it, it's still phenomenal and breathtaking to be in world in a gallery and see real world art in that space. The artist himself came in during the event and spoke for over an hour to the guests. It's a little dark. I'll have this up on SlideShare so you can see, but It's the artist standing next to a projection of his avatar, and then the artist standing in the gallery with the guests and communicating with them, answering questions, talking about his life in Alaska and the inspiration for his art. And he was awed, awestruck. He was blown away to see his art far larger by scale than he had ever seen it before. That moment is that moment we want to create and recreate, make happen somehow, that spark of awe. We sometimes have lost it. Yeah, it's all kind of, oh yeah, of course we can fly. Yeah, no big deal. Always remember that moment of awe. This artist now wants to go back in. And this could inform his art, and he may learn skills to create art in Second Life. That won't make him any more valid an artist than the fact that he is displaying his art today in Second Life. So what next? Where are things going? I was going to talk about augmented reality and all of these cool other buzzwords. And I do think AR, augmented reality, is something that will be next. For those of you who are not familiar with augmented reality, it sounds so Second Life-y, but it's not exactly. But it's laying over digital information to a physical space that you can view through your smartphone's camera. So for example, you're walking down a street, you see a restaurant, you hold up your smartphone, and it will give you a review. How many stars? It will give you some additional background, what the special is today, or even the menu, before you even walk in the door. This is actually happening right now in cities around the world. I just reviewed Baltimore, Maryland has an app now with AR overlay. So imagine how we can use that in the physical space, but the digital information could lead to images, links, information about Second Life. So imagine you're in Dublin and you look through your smartphone at a pub, and it can give you the equivalent of that pub in Second Life with all the coordinates and the ability to go in world and explore. So sure, you may not do that at that moment because, hey, you're in Dublin and there's the pub right there and a pint sounds awfully good. But when you return home, you now have information to have a new and a different experience, almost parallel to something you had. How do we succeed in Second Life? I made up this slide in 2009 to train my team at the time at a social media marketing firm, an agency called Conversify that I co-founded. And it looks a lot like what people say about social media. It looks a lot like what we were talking about in the early 90s about the web community. Usenet news groups, web forums, BBSs. It takes participation. It's about the relationships. It's how we engage with others, get them engaged. And it's a commitment. This is not something that any of us take lightly. We're here. We spent the money to come out here to learn more, but to make connections, to participate, but to strengthen relationships. And that it's about adding value from the very beginning. That was the thing I like to preach, and I think most of us preach. What are we doing to add value to Second Life, to our world, whichever world that might be? So Rod said, these are the main 3 Linden Lab initiatives. 1, usability. 2, lag, a very important one, we all know. 3, service. I would say these are our initiatives. Always see the possibilities and create the opportunity. It's not always going to be handed to you, but you have the power to create new opportunities for yourself and for others. Let's make sure we always grow, learn, and expand our world or our worlds. That concludes the programming portion of our show. I would like to open it up to questions and make this interactive. So anyone have a question? You win a copy of my new book. I don't always say the prize first, but I always reward the first person, second, third, fourth, and fifth who have a question. Here you go. It's the Complete Idiot's Guide to Crowdsourcing, not making any commentary on anybody at all. So yes.
So I'm not familiar with Hashable. Does that make business cards obsolete? That I go to the conference and I meet these 2 people and we all get into Hashable together? And does that also mean that my personal contacts are now everybody else's contacts?
That's a really good question. First of all, does it make business cards obsolete? Did LinkedIn make business cards obsolete? Have websites of any kind or contact databases made business cards obsolete? They haven't. And my theory on that is several-fold. We like the tangible. We still like the tangible. Even if we immerse ourselves in the digital, there is something, maybe it's just a generational thing, so maybe for me, speaking for myself, it's quaint. But it's real, something you can hand over. It's a reflection of ourselves. It's not like we can hand over our digital selves. So I don't think business cards are going to go away, but I think they're evolving. And if you've noticed, a lot of business cards these days have QR codes. For those who aren't familiar with QR codes, they're quick response codes, 2-dimensional barcodes that are usually square-shaped, but not always, usually black and white, but not always. But suddenly you see this little code on business cards. Well, it's like a real-world hyperlink. You take your smartphone with a QR code reader on it, which is an app. You then scan it, and it takes you right away to the online version of someone's resume, website, anything, video. So suddenly this little card becomes multidimensional and inextricably linked with the digital. Now, I didn't talk about QR codes in my presentation, but I'm a big fan. They don't always work, but what technology does. But when they do, they can be brilliant. And that could be another bridge between the tangible, the business card, and our online identities. So in terms of, does everyone get your contacts? Is everyone sort of privy? They're just like LinkedIn, there are different ways of showing your contacts. Your contacts don't necessarily become other people's contacts. It does open up the potential for connection. I'm still playing around with it myself. Some people absolutely love it. There are Hashable power users, and other people said, no, I'm fine with LinkedIn, or no, I'm not going to go there. I think that with any of these apps, it's fine to dabble and explore, read the fine print, check the privacy settings, all the things that you need to do to make sure that your information is your information. But I can't see them completely replacing the business card. Any other questions? Yeah, you get a copy of my book.
one of these things that you have triggered in my mind is this correlation between physical world and, thank you, and the virtual world. And I imagine you've probably already run across some apps that are cross-world. I guess I would call them cross-world apps. And I'll give you an example. There are a lot of universities there are a lot of public entities that have dabbled or attempted to come into Second Life or have created Second Life. And almost every one that I've been to seems to want to build their little landmark that's in their physical world, and they stick that in their virtual world. And it seems to me like that location thing, using your phone, which I've been developing Droid apps. And for anybody who hasn't done it, there is something called App Inventor. If you do have a Droid, there's something called App Inventor. And if you do anything in Second Life, if you've ever even tried to write a simple script, App Inventor is even easier than that, and it lets you just prototype some very simple app books. Cool. And it is incredible. And I'm thinking that if I was doing location-based, if I was driving by with my, I'm at the university, I'll take this out and it'll let me know the building, that I could also have a Second Life app, and it would then tell me where I could go in Second Life to see this exact same structure, and it would tell me in Second Life what this university was offering to me. And so I call that a cross-reality application. I was trying to give you an example, long-winded. Do you have examples of cross-reality applications like that?
I actually don't, except these are the same kinds of things that I was thinking about and talking about with AR. And I think it's something that I'm just opening it up to anyone who's a programmer to come up with, because it makes sense in a very unusual way, but I see it adding value and being useful. So you're coming out with that app, right? Somebody do the iPhone one, please. Yes, please. We have another question.
Talking about the Second Life being, I guess, actually, it's probably my preferred life out there. I've had a web page up since '95, which is on my business card. So, but my Second Life is more of what I would like my home or office to be, where people go to. So basically on my business card, instead of having you go to my web page, have you go to my Second Life. There's my avatar doing the drafting, design, whatever. That while I'm doing it, people can ask questions, leave notes, and trying to keep that, because like on the web page, you have to kind of watch what you have on there, so you're not putting too much, or for privacy or infringement rights on the work. And but I'm hoping within the next year or so that as the virtual world merges with what we have here, that I could this is my business card, and you could actually just from any browser go to that and see my portfolio.
Right.
You walk into it, this is Dave's place. Obviously, this is me, and this is where you can see what my work and my skills and my whole portfolio are like.
Right.
So hopefully we're getting more closer and closer to that, and you've got a lot of social media here that I want to check out.
Well, think about it. Already we have the bridge to that, which is my.secondlife.com, which I don't know how many people are using that so far. How many of you dabbled? It's the web-based social network version of our profiles and identity. So my.secondlife.com, it's taking what I'm talking about, our in-world, out a little bit. But then what you're talking about is the next level of then bringing people straight in world. I think that we always need to be cautious if we're marketing to always have the bridge. And I think that now the bridge exists, meaning you don't want to necessarily link them straight in world unless you know they have the capability to get there. But letting them go to my.secondlife.com, view your profile, view a bit of your portfolio, then bring them in world. There may be a slight barrier. You never want there to be a big barrier. So if you're marketing your designs, your work, you want to make sure that what you put on your physical card is reachable by all the people that you hand it to. So take a look at that and explore that a little bit, because I think that would be a really good bridge for what you're talking about. my.secondlife.com, which is a Linden Lab initiative to create a more web-based social network out of what we have right now in Second Life, bringing in-world out.
I think we have time for one more question. Okay. So I'm going to run the mic over. Give me just
She's running the mic. She's running the mic.
I'm coming.
I wonder what your thoughts are for engaging people in some of the external social media that are not technical minded, but trying to expose them to the benefits of being able to use those and see the benefit from those.
Social media. So you're wondering about engaging people who are in social media but may not be that technical, and are you talking about engaging them further, deeper into social media?
Right.
Okay, so not even Second Life.
Well, maybe they're in Second Life, but maybe they haven't connected to some of the
Other social media. Well, not all social media is attractive or interesting to everybody, and each one operates differently. So for a person who's less technical or technically inclined, it could be a really big barrier. I always say dabble, and I encourage that. Just dabble. You may have to hold hands. If you're dealing with someone who's completely not technical, so this is social media, so this is Twitter, Facebook, and even Second Life, which sometimes requires greater hand-holding. But encourage them to dabble. Be there to support them and hold their hand. Come up with some real reason for them to be there. With my parents, with my dad especially, it was, you should be on Facebook because your daughters are posting photos of their lives. I'm posting photos of your grandchild. So let me help you get there so you can be part of that. So sometimes it's just, what is it that matters most to that person? And now find a way to bring them in to learn about a tool, a place, a platform, a Second Life where they can be closer to the things they love. Thank you so much for being here. I have one more book. The first person to come up here to talk to me gets it. Rush!